Welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay, as we're taking the Gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is God created dinosaurs, made idols. These are the best of times, these are the worst of times. These are biblical times. And as the weeks roll along, these words I say become pregnant with more meaning. As you'll see, natural disasters, catastrophes happening around the world. You'll see strange anomalies in the skies, wars, rumors of wars. You'll see volcanoes popping off, earthquakes, seas roaring. These are biblical times. Watch for economies to crash, including the stock market. It's God is setting the stage for his end time harvest. And these are times now to press in close to God. I've been myself off the grid for a while. And coming back afresh. Do some soul searching, and I'm back in the saddle. But it was good to get away. You know, I've been pressing hard for a long time, a lot of years. It's good to step back and regain your perspective and keep it moving. And that's what we do here at Street Priest Ministry. Brother Jay is in for the long haul. Sometimes it's good to step back, like I said, and get off the grid. This, as you know, this technology thing, this social media thing has been rough for me over the years. You know I didn't want no part of it. God called me to do this work and pretty much just bend me. We have over 3,000 hours of teaching on Street Priest Ministry, as well as, I don't know, over 1,200 videos on Thus Saith the Word of the Lord. And we've taught from Genesis to Revelations, Bible prophecy included. We've taught on the lost books of the Bible, the Apocrypha. We've taught on many vast subjects that has to do with the Bible. Now this particular subject here interests me. Two scientists who I have a lot of respect for and have followed over the years, has helped shape my faith for is intellectually approaching the subject of the Bible, which you can do. God gave us a brain. Problem with Christianity, so many ignoramuses. And figure you have to take your brain out your head, and you don't need it when you come to Christ. That's not true. Matter of fact, it's opposite to me. The Bible talks about us. If we got the spirit of Christ, we have the mind of Christ. God in us will lead us in all into wisdom, his wisdom. But he created all. It's all his. Man's wisdom, the Bible says, is foolishness with God. But God's creation is everlasting. And what Satan has done has blurred the real, his story, God's story, the biblical story. Like I said, the Bible's the most accurate history book on earth. And I mean that. Having studied biblical archaeology for years, thanks to people like Ron Wyatt and his discoveries as well in archaeology. And new archaeology that's every month discovering numerous artifacts and things that prove Thus Saith the Word of the Lord is a fact. It's not a fairy tale book. It's an absolute 100% accurate book in history that stood the test of time. Another person that I've admired and have a lot of respect for is Ken Hope. And he's taught a lot and went up against a lot of the alley-oop evolutionists, Darwin boneheads, that has been preaching a perverted faith message. It's a message of faith. Believe that, but it's perverted. God created the dinosaurs. Man and dinosaurs was created at the same time. Not millions of years apart, like the lies of Darwin and evolution have taught. They can't prove a single thing that they said. It's all faith-based theory, so why can't we believe God said and created everything? They believe a rock said and created us all. We all descend from a rock. That's what they teach, the Big Bang theory. Primordial soup and all that crap coming forth from a rock that brought forth this very complex, intelligent species, including mankind, the most complex and intelligent. London physiologists has already concluded that our genetic makeup is too complex to have evolved. It's one big computer program with just one strand that would take up all the data space and all the computers on Earth. That's how, as David said, we're wonderfully made. So I'm here to I've touched on this topic before, on evolution, but never have I focused a whole message on it. I think one message is God's monsters, and I believe I taught out of the book of Job. I can't remember the message, but I know the book of Enoch. I got a little bit into it too, the Apocrypha series. But here I'm going to delve into it because so many of our children in these communist re-education camps called public education. All you got to do is look at Marx and study him, and you'll find that he is pretty much progenitor of this modern public education system. Karl Marx, the communist. I'm for homeschooling and charter school and anything but public education. This is all it is when you're mass producing, or they're warehouses of ignorance. It's mass producing dumbed down individuals. They're taking God and prayer out of the schools. And that's why the nation's state is in. And have substituted lies for the pit of hell. Elevated nature over God, and includes man. And we're going to use both the scripture, and we're going to delve. This is a subject where you gotta put your brain helmets on. I'm planning to expand your gray matter with this message. This is not a message for the simple. If that's you, go ahead and turn the channel now. Keep it simple, brother. That's what drove me away from Christianity from the get-go. It took God a major cataclysm in my life, death experience and hell experience, to get me on the road to searching for truth, and God knowing that I had a problem with the ignoramuses and told me, just shut up, brother, and believe. I was the doubting Thomas. But just like I've stated many times, Jesus didn't tell doubting Thomas to shoe fly when he said, I don't believe you standing in front of me, I believe you're a spirit, you're a ghost. Unless I put my hands in the prints of your hands and in your side, I don't believe you are here, I believe you're a ghost. Christ didn't say, beat it, brother. Gotta have faith. He submitted to the test. The acid test is the resurrection. Without the resurrection, as Paul stated, our faith is vain. And we are false witnesses of God. And a resurrection you can study as absolute proof. Many now subject matter has been written on it. The case for Christ. I believe it's Lee Straughn, I'm close to it. But look up the case for Christ. That's one. This was the atheist set out to prove that the resurrection was a lie. Came up with the most definitive proof that Christ came from that tomb. He was converted. There was another attorney who removed the stone, I believe is the title of it. But they provide ample proof throughout history. It's like if you were in court and you wasn't there. You ever served on a jury and they present a bunch of evidence, and a lot of times circumstantial evidence, and you can come to a psychological conclusion, not a preponderance of evidence, whether a person is guilty or innocent. You wasn't there. But based on what you've been exposed to the evidence, you come to a psychological conclusion. What's the same as studying the Bible and studying theology, God, from God's perspective, His book, His word. Studying the resurrection. You could study that and look at the proof. It's piled a mile high to prove Christ not only existed, but Christ was crucified, raised from the dead, and seen by many, over 500 witnesses. Just because something is a miracle, don't mean it's not true. Just mean it can be explained by natural means. If 10 people see Brother Jay start going up into the air, into the clouds, and all 10 people say, I saw this, you need to take a second look and say, well, you know what, all these people can't be crazy. Now that's just 10. We're talking 500. And you have the scoffers that try to say, oh, it's mass hallucination. No, that's a bunch of crap. That's a cop-out. You can say the same thing about any other historical fact in history. That's the case. It was witnessed by mass people, including spaceships. So you have a problem with that. Mass hallucination, people seeing spaceships and aliens and all that. Going on about Christ. Ascended into glory. Now, like I said, we're going to delve deep into this. I'm going to have you turn. We're going to start it out with scripture, and we're going to go from there. So turn to Exodus 20, 1 through 5. The book of Exodus 20, 1 through 5. This ministry always leads out what God said. What's this absolute fact? And God spake all these words, saying, I have my extra light. The bulb went out. I am the Lord, thy God, which hath brought thee out of the land Egypt. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to get me some extra light right now. I'll be right back. Here we go. Extra light. You can see this is not scripted here. We keep it real. They're street freaks. We do what we gotta do until I get my okay. Yeah, this is much better. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thus shalt thou not make unto thee any graven image in any likeness, or any other thing that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water, or underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. God refers to himself as jealous. Calls himself jealous in one verse, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Now, that's pretty clear. And the reason I read that is to let you know that you can't put anything in the place of God. He calls that an idol. And this is exactly what happened in the year. Put this button. This is exactly what happened in the year of 1842. An evolutionist named Richard Owen coined the phrase dinosaur. It's the first time this word was used. And I always like to go and research the etymological root meanings of words, so you get a clear idea. Now, the word sauros is lizard in the Greek. And dino is terrible. Terrible lizard. Not terrible in the sense, it is a terrible lizard, a dinosaur. I mean, it's terrifying. But not in that sense, the word terrible was used. The word terrible was used like terrible in awe-inspiring, godlike. It has a connotation of divineness, a divine connotation. Terrible. Like one of the names of God is awesome. So you might as well say an awesome lizard. God-like lizard. God has been deified. This lizard. You ever heard of the movie Godzilla? That's what it was. A giant lizard that terrorized man that they worship as God. And that's what happened with this evolution. It's substituted its place in the place of God. And that's why it's led out saying you should have no other idols before you, no other gods before you. The elevated evolution is to a divine status over God. And put evolution in the place of God. It's been taught in the schools for decades, if not over 100 years, in its so-called public education. Right straight from the Marxist manifesto. Public education. And he was an evolutionist, and so were all pretty much the scientists. That was for this being put in the school. Scientists used to be Christians and believe in God before this heresy of evolution came on the scene. But it means terrible lizard. Now, the reason you don't see dinosaur, like I said, the word wasn't coined till 1842, but the reason you don't see dinosaur mentioned in the Bible is because God referred to the dinosaurs as dragons. Or even more specific type of dragons, Leviathan, Bohemians. We're going to get into that, the book of Job. And the Bible has 34 times referred to dragons in the Bible. 34 times. God, when he created man in the Garden of Eden, he also created the dragons. He also created, quote unquote, the dinosaurs. They're not millions and billions and zillions, and they keep changing numbers. Just look back how many times they done changed the numbers and the fake carbon dating and all. There were dinosaurs in the Garden of Eden. Remember, the animals were not against man when all the animals was created, including dinosaurs. That didn't happen till the fall of creation. That meat was eaten. Everything was vegetarian. There was no such thing as meat eating in the Garden of Eden. That wasn't until the fall of creation. So why couldn't a Tyrannosaurus Rex be petted by Adam or Eve? Or a Brontosaurus? Now, we're about to go ahead and delve into that. Now, before we go there, I'm going to also tell you the word dragon that's referred to in the Bible. Also checked out the etymological root meaning of that. It's from the Hebrew tanan, atanan. And it just simply means monster. Some derivative of it is also giant lizard or reptile. But moreover, monster. Now, on one of my video teachings for the Bible, I showed the many monsters in the Bible, including monsters that ate people. Monsters. And now the title of it is God's Monsters. He created monsters. It's God's monsters. Job, he made that very clear. But God's the boss of these monsters. Now, this perversion that's been taught deifies these monsters and more or less takes God out the equation and even create like they created or were self-created like everything else. It's evolved, which makes no sense. And throughout history, man has talked about dragons. There's been dragons on caves, the dragons carved in the rocks. This is around the world. Every culture has dragons. Monsters, the sea monsters, taking down boats. Many sightings, even till this current day. By the way, I don't think the dragons or the dinosaurs are totally extinct. Some might have gotten smaller. Some, I believe, are extinct. And I'm going to explain why I believe some of them are extinct. But you have sightings like the Loch Ness Monster and Ishi over in Japan. and so on and so on around the world. There's swamps in Africa bigger than the United States, where the primitive people over there still report sightings of dinosaurs, giant lizards. There's many unexplored places around the earth, and also fire-breathing dragons being a part of man's history and cultures around the world. They actually found one in a cave. The flesh, everything intact, wasn't bones, skeleton. This was decades ago, frozen in some cave. God can create an electric eel that could shock you with 600 volts. Enough electricity to light up a city. If God can create a type of beetle that can shoot fire out of his rear end and kill his predators, and so on and so on in nature, surely he can create a fire-breathing dragon. Now, that's something for you to think about. This is not no myths. These are people actually recorded. And man, God told man to subdue the earth. That includes the dinosaurs or the dragons. It's recorded in the Bible. To subdue. Man have subdued lions, bears, everything else that was predators, including. There's many pictures and paintings and carvings of men killing dinosaurs. That's why they're probably few in number. Over the thousands of years. Especially with the technology we have now. Now, we're going to go to Genesis. And we're about to get deep here in a minute. And I want you to put on your thinking caps. Go to Genesis. That God said, like I said, this is very important. Hopefully you can gather your children around this being programmed by these lies from the pit of hell. The word of God is the truth. Satan is a liar. And so is his minions. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, for you mockers and scoffers out there that believe we came from a rock, I laugh at you as you laughed at me for believing this. I scoff you and mock you for believing this complex creation came from a rock. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. That's what I believe. And the earth was without form and void. The earth was an amoeba. The earth was an amoeba. Cataclysm struck this earth, and I believe that was due to the fall of Satan and his minions and the warfare that took place in the heavens. He got the boot, him and his minions, and threw down here to earth, where originally, if you read the book of Enoch, and the Bible gives you a clue in Jeremiah and Isaiah and Ezekiel, that the original Eden was oversaw by Lucifer himself, a cherubim angel, second in the highest order, only to the seraphims. The songbird, the choir leader for heaven, with instruments built into him, the most beautiful angel God created, till he was uplifted in pride and got the boot out of heaven because he wanted to be God. And that's the essence of sin. I want to be God. I want to control my own destiny. I don't want to bow to God. That's all it's saying here. We want to do what we want to do. All we like sheep, we turn astray, we turn every man our own way, we want to go our own way. That's all of us. That is the bent in our nature. As Randall Needler talked about, that is the root essence of sin. We want to sit in the throne room of God and don't want to bow to Him. His whole creation, of mankind I'm talking about, is a rebellion against it. And Satan led that rebellion in heaven and got 1/3 of the angels got the boot with him. And the whole world, the Bible says, worships the dragon, Satan. Interesting that he's referred to as the dragon. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was up on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. God is light. Light is energy. The essence of life is light. Without light, we all wouldn't be here. This would be a frozen planet without that sun. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light. That it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day. And the darkness He called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So we have the sky, and we have waters above, a water canopy.